Hi, my name is Nicholas Stone, and today I'll be applying the trans-theoretical model to the case study Key Components in Planning, Implementing, and Monitoring a Behavior Change Communication Campaign that Increased Condom Use Among Male Clients of Sex Workers in Southern India. So my objectives for today are to describe the trans-theoretical model and apply the trans-theoretical model to the case study, and then justify if the trans-theoretical model or any other theory is a better fit, and then discuss issues and weaknesses of the intervention. The trans-theoretical model was developed by Prochaska and DiClemente, and it explains addictive behaviors in recovery. So it focuses on the individual's readiness for change or attempt to change, and it describes that people at different points of the behavior change process can benefit from different types of interventions. And then it integrates multiple principles of behavior change across theories by using the stages of change. It also makes 5 assumptions. It assumes that no single theory is always correct. Behavior change happens over time in stages. Stages are stable yet open to change. Most people are not ready for action, and specific processes of change are best at specific stages. So there's 4 constructs of the trans-theoretical model. Those are stages of change, decisional balance, self-efficacy, and processes of change. And we'll break those down further in the next slides. The stages of change can be broken down into pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. So pre-contemplation says that an individual has no intention of taking action within the next 6 months. So during the planning phase of the intervention, males of South India would have been in the pre-contemplation phase with no intention of taking action. And then that brings us to contemplation, where an individual intends to take action in the next 6 months. So after the intervention was implemented and they started to raise awareness, some men would have fell into the contemplation stage, where they start considering actions they intend to take to correct their behavior. And then preparation, so that means that the individual intends to take action within the next 30 days and has taken some behavioral steps in this direction. So an example of that would be males obtaining condoms for use with sex workers, which the intervention planners helped with this by helping make condoms more readily available. And then the action stage, so the person has changed the behavior for less than 6 months. So this would be the practice of using condoms consistently, and the interventionist can help support them by reinforcing the beliefs about proper condom use, and that it is always important to wear a condom. And then the maintenance phase, which basically says that an individual has changed behavior for more than 6 months. And so change is a nonlinear process, and it sometimes requires you to take a step back. So an individual that is in the maintenance phase may take a step back. They may have a slip, and then start back in that preparation phase, and then the action phase again, and then continue into maintenance again. So the next construct is decisional balance, and it lays out the pros and cons of the behavioral change. So the pros are the benefits of changing. In this instance would be the prevention of HIV or really any other STDs. And then the cons are the cost of changing, which in this case might literally be the cost of condoms. And then you can have decreased sensitivity with condom use, so that would be another con of using a condom. Which brings us to our next construct, self-efficacy. So we've laid out the pros and cons, and then so the next step is to provide that confidence, so that an individual can engage in healthy behaviors in the face of challenging situations. And then the other side of self-efficacy is temptation, which is essentially the opposite of confidence, and it's the urge to engage in unhealthy behaviors in challenging situations. So One way the intervention helps encourage the confidence of individuals is by reinforcing those four beliefs that condoms won't burst if used correctly, they won't slip off if used correctly. No matter what choices you make, you always need a condom, and no matter which sex worker you choose, you always need a condom. The final construct is the processes of change, and these are the activities that people use to progress through the stages of change. So, looking at consciousness raising, dramatic relief, environmental reevaluation, self reevaluation, and social liberation. So, those would all fall under pre contemplation, contemplation, and preparation. And then self liberation, stimulus control, helping relationships, counter conditioning, and reinforcement management would fall under action and maintenance. And there is some overlap between some of these. So you may have some of those on the right side that would fall under pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, or vice versa. So is the trans theoretical model a good fit for this study? I don't think it's the best fit, and I've listed a couple reasons here why. That it's one is too linear, and then most research in the trans theoretical model is on reducing risk rather than preventing risk, and that's what we want to do here. Is we want to prevent HIV infection in males that seek sex workers. So I've listed some information for some other behavioral models. And I think, in my opinion, the best that would be suited for this study would be the health behavior model. And the reason for that is because it focuses more on why people do or do not accept public health interventions. And I think that is a good thing with this study, because we're focusing on why males that seek sex workers were not using condoms in the first place. And I think a lot of that came down to those four beliefs that we discussed earlier. And then weaknesses for this case study. I believe one of the biggest weaknesses is that the intervention only focused on males seeking sex with sex workers. I think it also should have included the sex workers. I know it mentions that previous studies have included them, but I think it would have been a good integral part of this intervention, and that would have helped more with the action and the maintenance phase if you had the sex workers there that were able to also speak to condom usage and those four beliefs. Thank you for your time. I hope you come away with a better understanding of the trans theoretical model. I've applied it here to the case study key components in planning, implementing, and monitoring a behavior change communication campaign that increased condom use among male clients of sex workers in southern India. So hopefully you can take this theory and now apply it to other studies or even your daily lives in any behavioral changes you may wish to make.